This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so happy Friday. Today is Friday, April 3rd, and as always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. All right, so not quite as interesting as the pre-market from yesterday. Pretty much right now, we're not really seeing too much that's going on out there yet. But the first thing I'm going to be looking at is Oxy. So Oxy, we remember it has just a ton of selling, basically underneath 12 and all the way down towards that 10 level. All right, so this pull-up is to be expected. The amount of selling they showed us for the entire day basically told us that we're going to be expecting a large pull-up. So coming into this morning, what we can see is at that 1350, we had some decent prints. Okay, let's go back right here. At about 8:11 this morning, 1350, some decent ones. I mean, with the amount of the print personality, you can see it has no problem printing in big amounts. So it's okay. It looks like a lot more than it actually is based off what we see going on out there. And then as we moved up 1370, we come up to 1380s in that area, but then we really kind of got a bunch of selling coming in around that 14. So definitely seeing a bunch of people getting out of there under that 1490. So it still looks like it does have a little bit more room towards the upside just based off the off-level prints that we saw coming into there. Only problem, it did not pull back from this 1350 the way that it should have. You can see right here at 811 just hit the 1350 level and never really came back down. So I would be expecting a pullback coming from here, especially with the selling that we have underneath that 14. But overall, it does have a little bit of buying towards the highs. So, it definitely looks like, they could make a run to try to test that 15 level. Now, the fact that it has enough selling, to crush past that 10 level, I would expect 15 to be a very, very strong resistance point if it is able to get back up there. But obviously, we're going to go based off the prints. If we continue to see buying coming in, and that's basically going to be riders from that selling telling us that they're going to be continuing to pull it up to actually build before we end up coming back down underneath that 10. Keep in mind that its range isn't huge. So coming underneath that 10, it does not look like it's going to be a one-day job. Although at the same time, yesterday, we did really see it, be able to show range when it wanted to. So, there's a bunch of factors that are going into there, but at this moment right now, we definitely need to pull back below that 1350. All right, next thing is going to be sideless stocks. They pretty much don't have anything else that's new that's going to be going on over there. CCL, obviously, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put a lot of the stocks that we have been looking at every single day on our list just because there's not really much that's going on. Now, we know that CCL was supposed to pull up yesterday before we would end up coming back down. We started making that push towards the 8 where we saw more and more selling coming into a huge selling. So the fact that it's coming back up like this, not shocking at all. And we can see towards those highs, we definitely are seeing some buying still coming in. So definitely going to be riders pulling this thing up before we end up towards the before we end up coming back towards that downside. Yep, that's on my side list, CAPR and APA. So CAPR, the one thing that I have a problem here with, though, is that the buying near highs. If you look, it jumped from 130. I hope it lets me go back. Okay, so yeah, you can see right here from 129 to that 130 area, it pretty much jumped up and did not give us much coming in towards that towards the beginning, right around 8 o'clock. So we don't really have buying that's up at that top level, which really, really bothers me. Okay, here it is. So that 140, basically 141 is the highest where we have those prints, and you have those 160. So this is what I was talking about. It jumps from 138 all the way up to 160, and there's just not really much there. So it's going to have to be on the side list just because I can't base my entire morning trade on probabilities on only these 3 prints, especially when this thing has no problem with its print personality in printing. So side list stock, we need to definitely make sure that we're building in order to get even back up to this 160. We definitely need to make sure that we see building within this consolidation right here, and then obviously a release back up towards it. Okay, is COVID-19, Davis, social distance. Okay, next one looking at is APA. So APA is another one where it just didn't print at that 550, which I'm a little bit shocked about. I really wanted to see some type of prints coming into here. What's going on? Okay, there we go. So I definitely wanted to see more prints coming in around that 550. It's just, five prints there. It's still got, don't get me wrong, it's still got good buying. It's just, I really wanted to see a lot more coming into there and a lot more volume at that point. Now, it wasn't terrible. Like I said, I mean, there definitely is buying up here towards those highs. It's just the personality looks a little bit consolidated right now. So I'm a little bit worried that it's going to go into that same type of trading that we saw coming from yesterday. But definitely something that we'll be keeping our eye on. And the amount of buying that we saw coming into this thing yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised to see this really continue on its run. Just keep in mind that 5 is a hard level to hold. So if we see any type of big selling start to come in towards the open and or at the open, and we start to see people kind of dumping off up here, we're going to see it come back underneath 5 very, very quickly. And remember, APA is also shortable, so definitely something to look at. APT is another one that APT too. Yes, APT. So with APT, we know that this thing could move. We got that big push the other day that came in and kind of pushed us, all the way up towards that 19 level. Did not hit, ended up triggering back down, but we still do have a lot of buying that's sitting up above. So right now, it's got to be on our side list just because there's not really much going on, and I'm a little bit worried about it not really trading too much. But overall, it's got the variables. It's got some decent stuff going on, and if you look, it's really been sitting in this consolidation for quite some time. From yesterday, then into the aftermarket, and then into the entire pre-market. So a nice little burst above that 16 would really help us kind of push back up towards that buying that we saw near the highs. Yeah, so that's the thing with LK. Now, LK does not look bad at all, but the problem is I don't want to get caught in it, because what's going to happen if they come out with, with the SEC, obviously the SEC is going to have to get involved. And when they start to do that investigations, if we do see this thing get halted, it just might not be, it might be for a long time. So I can't get behind it because I don't want to lose my buying. Let's say perfect trade comes out and I load into it and load into it and load into it, and then it gets halted for a month. That buying power sits there for a month. And it's just, is the risk versus reward actually worth the huge risk of that happening? And I'm going to tell you right now, to be completely honest, it's happened to me before. LFIN, same exact thing. All of a sudden it just, and that was, not same exact story. It's not like they, hit 2 billion. They just tried to the whole blockchain nonsense. But overall, it's just one of those things I have a hard time getting behind. If you are going to trade it, use very small shares. But then guess what? That becomes a distraction anyway. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be able to find some other thing. So I just unfortunately cannot get behind that because I don't know what's going to happen. And there's just too much of a side factor that I can't control that's part of that trade. And if I can't control it, then guess what? I'm like I said, I can't get behind it. So something to think about. All right, guys. Now, anything else out there that I missed? All right, beautiful. So let's get ready for our morning. We're gonna have to do a lot of scanning. Obviously, look at some of our everydays with the big ranges that we know we're gonna trade, BA, ZM, stuff like that. But overall, got a lot of work to do this morning. All right, guys, so let's get it. We'll talk to everyone in the chat, and happy trading.